Hey everyone, welcome to the Seven Sage Shortcut. This is the daily podcast where we answer questions from the Seven Sage community or the YouTube community. Well, if you ask a question, you're part of the Seven Sage community. I'm Alex. I'm the director of courses and live classes at Seven Sage. I'm joined by Bailey. Bailey, who are you?
I am a live instructor here at Seven Sage. I also tutor and I teach courses.
Yeah. And we're back for our daily LSAT podcast, proving once and for all that you don't need to wear hats to do a daily LSAT podcast.
It's exactly what we try to prove. And by the way, if you guys like this podcast, you like listening to The Shortcut every day, we are going to put it into its own podcast feed now. So if you want to keep listening to these episodes, go find The Shortcut wherever you get your podcasts. It's still going to be on all of those different pages like YouTube, Apple Podcasts,
So
Spotify.
we're planning to post one. If you're listening to this instead of viewing it, we're no longer going to put all of the daily podcasts in the same feed because we're worried about clogging up people's podcast apps. So we're planning on putting one shortcut per week in the main feed, but everything else is going to be on its own feed. So yeah, Eric, what is it called? Where can they find it? What's it called?
Is it just going to be
Does
The
it exist
Shortcut?
yet? Okay. So search The Shortcut by Seven Sage, and that's how you're going to find this daily podcast if you want to keep listening every day. All right, let's get into it. We have a question from Dolot. I was wondering if you had any tips for achieving more consistent PT scores within a narrow range. 2 weeks ago, I took a PT and got a 178. Nice. Then last week, I took a PT and got a 176. Great.
Nice.
This week, I just took a PT and got a 167. The last score is closer to my overall PT average, but I've been trying to break out of a plateau in the high 160s for the majority of my studying. Plus, the PT I got a 176 on was not 100% fresh. It was around 60% fresh, and I don't think I remembered the vast majority of the questions, but still. The sharp drop in my latest PT score freaked me out a bit. I identified that I was really tense while doing that particular PT. I felt myself being underconfident, and I was really, on a lot of questions. Is that kind of variance just a facet of having some good days and some bad days? Or do you have any experience with taking specific steps and methods to improve consistency? Thoughts,
Great
Bailey?
question. I definitely
Go ahead.
experienced. Sorry, we got
Great
hold on.
question.
I experienced something similar when I was studying for sure. I think that the first time that I broke into like the high 170s, I felt like I was on top of the world. I was like, awesome, I'm unbreakable now. This is just going to keep happening. And then I think pretty soon after, if it was not the next test, it was the one right after, similar to your situation, I was back into the 160s. And that happens. Like it really does happen. Now, I think there's usually explanatory factors, like the fact that you can already pinpoint the mindset was a little bit different. You were less confident. You were more tense. Usually what happens is when things go different, either internally or externally, like you're freaking out, less than ideal conditions, the first thing that goes out the window is those tried and true strategies that you're using in normal practice and on your best PTs that just consistently get you to the right answer. Like a lot of it for me is slowing down, pausing every couple words, translating my own words, really identifying that conclusion, making predictions before I go into those answer choices, thoroughly eliminating 4 answer choices and choosing one if it's a question where I'm going to make sure that I'm doing something like that. And I think it's just normal for the nerves to set in and you to, I don't know, just kind of like try to do it based on the vibes, not based on the tried and true strategies that you've been using. And so first thing to do is realize this is normal, happens to the best of us, and also start to pinpoint what am I doing strategy wise on my best days versus what am I doing strategy wise on my worst days? Because it's not just mindset, right? The mindset leads to you changing what you're doing when you're doing the test.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, also just take along, the fact that you got a 176, we can get into the minutia of like, was it fresh? Was it not? Frankly,
Right. At the end
I
of the
don't really
day, that
care.
doesn't matter.
Like,
Yeah.
it is what it is. Obviously, ideally, we want everything to be fresh, but I'm like, it's not like I hear, oh, it's 60% fresh, and I'm like crunching the numbers that equate. It's just like,
Right. Like,
whatever.
oh, that means
It
that
is
you
what it
actually
is.
got this score. Yeah.
I think part of the thing is you just has to accept that this isn't exact science, and it's like, okay, it sounds like I'm curious because you say like 167 is closer to your overall PT average, and I guess I'm saying, does that mean
Right.
like for as long as you've been studying? Because if so, it's like your PT average over your last 5 PTs is going to be much more meaningful than the whole thing. So if you're averaging 167 over the last 10 and you're averaging in the 170s over the last 5, then I'd be like, okay, well, 167, I'm guessing you're averaging in the 170s over your last
Right.
5
At least for
because
the last 5. Because, yeah, otherwise
I
you
would
really need a
imagine
low
so.
score to bring that down.
Yeah, it's just then if you're legitimately like going 170, 160, like high 170s, mid 160, like over and over, then like, okay, something's going on and it's frankly pretty atypical. But like aberrations like that, just like like a few, like look at your overall average, like is what I'm saying. And I understand what you're saying is I want to narrow that window. I want to get them closer. And I guess I would just say to that is that will come with time. You just scored a 178. I don't expect to see more 167s, many more 167s in your future. A 167 is an aberration. The more that you freak out about it, the more likely it is to happen again, honestly. Like you're capable of scoring a 178. I don't expect you to score many more 167s. Like, or, it just doesn't really happen over a long enough time window. So just stick with it. Like over time, that low end is going to come up. I'm not super concerned about it. I think that's so. I guess the actual advice there is like, as best you can, just trust the process and trust that don't, the more that you catastrophize this and the more that you like freak out about it, the more likely it is to happen, frankly. Getting 178 is amazing. I expect you to get in the 170s on your official exam. Like you're very clearly capable of it. So don't blow this out of proportion. You're doing everything right. Stick with it.
Agreed. Yeah. And I think we as LSAT takers, especially if you are just the kind of person that puts a lot of pressure on yourself, we're so likely to write off a high score as a fluke and then look at that lower score and be like, well, that's really me. But this test is too hard for that. Like, yes, there's context that you can add into that where maybe that 176 wasn't totally clean. Okay. But you didn't say that about the
But you also got a
178.
178. Yeah.
Right,
I mean,
exactly. Like, that's awesome. That really is you. That's just as much you as any of these other scores. And so what you wanna do is just remind yourself, like, the power is within me, as cheesy as that sounds, and go right back to the same mindset, the
say
same
that again.
strategies, the
Say that
same step
again
by s Did it cut
in the
out?
way that you said it. No, you just said it kind of funny. Say it again.
I don't know. I don't pay attention to what I say. What did I say?
You're like, the power is within me.
The power is within me, even
Yeah,
if
there you
that's
go.
kinda cheesy.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
power's within me. Anyways, channel that, channel exactly what you were doing with that 178 energy, and then just bring that back over to your future PTs. Like, that was totally you. It's not a fluke. Test is way too hard for you to magically get a 178 as a random chance.
Great. Question answered. Shortcut provided. And thanks for listening.
Done.
And hopefully this is helpful for you, Dolot, and anyone else who has a similar issue. Remember, if you want a question answered on this podcast, comment on our YouTube. That's where we're pulling questions from. And if you want to keep listening every day on your audio podcast app, then subscribe to The Shortcut by Seven Sage. Sounds sort of like a cologne
The
or
Shortcut
something.
by Seven Sage.
By
Oh,
Seven
yeah, that's
Sage.
actually
Yeah.
good. The Shortcut.
Yeah.
We hold up
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
product.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.